Hey, good morning, knife nerds and everyday carry folks. It's the Big Canucker here, and got ourselves a little bit of a knife review today. I've been carrying this here for the last 3 weeks or so, and it's been a really delightful blade. Now, there is some things about this blade though that's a little bit ambiguous. I've not been able to find. I ended up buying this pre-owned, of course. This is the the Boker Plus Vox F3 Custom. Now, trying to find this exact knife with this exact specifications has been just about impossible. And by that I mean it's an S35 VN blade. It's got the oval hole. It's got a micarta front and a titanium frame lock at 3.3 inch long blade. So there's the Vox F2 3.5. There's the Vox F2 3 with a little bit kind of a teardrop shape. There's the one with a 3-inch blade, one with G10. There's one with double titanium sides. So I've not seen one, and this red micarta is something that I actually dyed. It's not a factory color. It actually came as kind of a dark kind of army green red, which I just seem to like this, or a dark army green, and I seem to like this red a whole lot better. So like I said, I haven't been able to find this exact knife, but I've found one here that's pretty close. It's actually, it's a black. It's normally had G10 and titanium, and so I suspect what might have happened, this might have been that particular model, and they took the G10 scale off and put a micarta aftermarket scale on, and that's how we're just going to call it the Boker Vox F3 Custom. So let's go to the tabletop and let's have a look at this. We'll have a look at the hits, the misses, and everything in between. Well, by the way, just got back from the doctor and had to see anesthesiologist and nurse for my surgery on my foot, and just kind of give you guys a heads up. And so now they've suggested, instead of having general anesthetic, they're going to give me a spinal tap, which basically means that they're going to paralyze me from the waist down for a couple hours while they perform the surgery. And I guess I'll be watching the surgery or listening, but I guess heavily sedated. And I said, well, what happens if I start freaking out? Can you sedate me? So I don't even know my name. And they said, well, we have enough sedation to put an elephant out, but too much and you'll stop breathing. So I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, what's some of the risk of this spinal tap? I guess we can, there's, paralysis, there's death, there's a heart attack, there's excessive bleeding. And I'm like, if I wasn't stressed out enough about this surgery, just to add that in there. So I'd throw that. Okay, guys, you guys are going to have to say some, pray to God, Allah, Vishnu, and whoever else to help me through this too as well. Buddha, he's in there. Cthulhu. I gotta get through this surgery because I want to walk normally again, and hopefully my foot pain can go away. But okay, let's go to the tabletop. Enough of my little bit of a rambling. Okay, really love this. Hey, look, I was really surprised at this knife right off the bat. When I first got it, of course, like I said, I bought it pre-owned. I didn't pay a whole lot of money for this. I only paid $80 for this Canadian. Now, I see that if this is the G10 version, I think it's around $180 brand new. You can buy one here, a pre-owned one here online for $119 without the micarta. And hey, it's a hell of a knife. Especially for the money, it's a hell of a knife for the money. Okay, if it's a Boker Plus with the dual titanium in Canada, that's about $220 brand new from Warriors of Wonders. But you can get that in of course, America, the United States of America, for I'm going to say probably about $179, which is a hell of a steal for this type of knife. All right, so let's have a look at the size here. Of course, we've got a Delica, which is kind of the everyday carry royalty, and you can see that there's the size of it. It's bigger than a Delica. And here we have got the Spyderco Martin Sleece Swayback, and you can see that they are very, very similar size. And that's what I'm carrying today, this Swayback. I'm carrying the Boker, and I just thought, hell, I'll carry this for a little bit. All right, so let's put this stuff away, and let's go over some of the dimensions. All right, so overall length on this is 8 inches long. Now the blade here is 3.25 inches long, so it's a 3.25 inch long, just a smidge under that 3.5 everyday carry sweet spot. But it is a very, very capable knife and a very, very capable blade. Now the handle thickness here is, not the handle, sorry, the handle length is, I think, 4.6 inches. So yes, you have a total of 8 inches here. Now, here's where you got some really, really surprising things. You've got a 0.19 or 5 mil thick blade. This is a thick boy. I mean, if you like your women and your knives thick, then this is the one for you. Oh my goodness, it is a thick blade. Now it's from feeling this knife here, there's no real data on this, whether or not this is a kind of a hollow grind or kind of a high saber type grind. It is a clip point blade. It's S35VN with the oval hole opening, and this oval here is really, really sharp. I ended up kind of buggering under my fingernail because the way I kind of open this knife here, I stick my thumbnail underneath that pad and it gets in there, and it gave me a little bit of almost like a cut under my fingernail. So I will kind of smooth that out over time. But where was I going with this? Oh, with a 3.5, with a 0.19 or 5 mil thick blade, it is an extremely stout little blade, but it's not crazy heavy here. What do we got here for weight? There is no weight here, but 5.3 ounces. It's under 6 ounce. It doesn't seem like it's a real super heavy knife to begin with. It rides nice in the pocket here a little bit. So now this, how thick this blade is, it goes through cardboard really, really nice. Whether it's just the way this kind of high saber, high kind of hollow ground is, I didn't notice that this got too bunched up in the cardboard. Now I've seen knives that were not quite 5 mil thick that you got to cut through the cardboard, and they cut initially well, but they get a little bound up. This seems to go through really, really nice. And I actually I was cooking my wife some breakfast this morning, and I always give her a little bit of fruit, and I have an apple here that I ended up cutting a couple of slices off, and you can see how thin it slices the apple. Now lots of times when you have a really thick blade, it'll actually kind of break when you're cutting, say, an apple or a carrot or something like that. It's so thick that it kind of snaps it off. Well, this here, even though that's kind of like that, that's more of a less because it's been sitting for a bit and I've handled it. This didn't seem like it had any sort of kind of cracking whatsoever. Like, it just seemed like it cut through the apple slice really, really well. And I was really, really surprised at how well it did cut through that apple slice. So extremely sharp. It looks like it has, close to the factory edge on it. You can see how it's got a little bit of striations here in the bevel. And all I ended up doing with this knife is I got it from a gentleman on Kijiji, and it was fairly sharp. The tip was a little bit, not as sharp, and I just kind of stropped it a bit. That brought it back really, really nice. And then I just thought, well, I think it needs a little bit more. So I took my my Spyderco fine and ultra fine stones, and I gave it probably 3 or 4 on each side, and then to the ultra fine on each side. And after that, it was hair popping sharp. Just a cut. I think I did less than 10 strokes on those combined stones, and it was ready to rock right off the bat. And then I've stropped it a little bit on my Knives Plus strop block. Whew. It's hair popping. This S35VN takes a wicked edge, and it sharpens so easily too as well. I've had no issues with that whatsoever. So this does have the micarta handle. You can get this in G10. You can get this in carbon fiber. You can also get it in double titanium, but then of course your price goes up. It is a titanium frame lock too, with the steel insert, so you're not gonna get some terrible lock stick. But although I do have to say, I'm not sure what's kind of going inside that lock face here on my particular version, but there is a little bit of lock stick on this. and you can't really it's you can't tell as much anymore, because when I had this knife apart the other day to do a little bit of straightening on it, I colored the edges in with some pencil, and that took care of the lock stick almost hardly any. And it wasn't like the lock stick was so bad that I was having a hard time opening the knife. I just noticed that if I opened it really, really hard, I don't know if you can see here, let's just see, you can hear that a little bit. It's not as much as it was, but there was an audible little tick, and it did hang up just ever so slightly. So I'm just not sure if that's just a design thing, or the fact that the steel interface is maybe not as protruding as it should, and there is a little bit of titanium hitting with the steel blade, causing that ever so slightly bit of lock stick. And it was enough that if I was using my thumb to open up, I had to give it a good press. Most of the time, sometimes I'll end up closing these with my finger here. It's just way more kind of comfortable for me, and then I'll just do that. And the lock stick was never so bad that I struggled to open it with my pointy finger. Now you do have yourself a lanyard hole, which I absolutely love. Your blade itself looks like it has been kind of acid washed with a heavy stone wash on it too as well, so it does have that kind of nice dull gray look, and it looks like your titanium has been stone washed too as well, and it's really, really darkened up, and that's going to hide a lot of the snail trails. I've been using this knife fairly hard over the last couple of weeks, and I can see no real wear spots with it, plus that it is a pre-owned knife too as well, and it doesn't look like it was been used hard. Whoever owned it, I'm not sure if they did it or if the factory did it, but I really, really appreciate stuff like that. I like these little gold accents, and I think this knife would have been 10 times better looking if all the hardware had this little gold accents, even on both sides. Just think it would have definitely set it off. And I like the fact that both of these screws here are fairly parallel. It's just something that caught my eye, and it's something that I appreciate as far as fit and finish. Now, it's running on two not phosphor bronze washers. It's actually running on two nylon washers, and I was a little bit surprised at that. I just thought kind of a knife of this caliber would perhaps run with some phosphor bronze on it, but hey, you see that there's a lot of high-end, really tough knives out there that are running on nylon washers, including the Andrew Demko knives. He's got some really tough, crazy, tough knives that are running on nylon washers, and he absolutely swears by it. There's also another one too that I just got, XM18. Oh, I want to say Strider, but it's not Strider. If you're familiar with the XM18 with the tri pivot, you can put in there nylon, you can put phosphor bronze, or you can put a ball bearing system in there. It'll come with all three tri-way, and hey, he swears by the nylon too as well. And a lot of his knives were built early on with the nylon washer. So like I said, there's no issues there. Nylon seems to be a really, really good also self-lubricating material, so you don't need to have as much lube in there too as well, I guess. So if your knives end up running a little bit dry, or you have a really long maintenance schedule due to circumstances, like if you're, say, a military person, you're out in the field for an awfully long time, I guess that nylon will last in a lot of those real heavy conditions. And hey, I'm not a master knife builder, and those master knife builders who will put those nylon washers in there, they swear by them. So hey, who am I to argue with them? You've also got a really nice titanium backspacer. And it's just like, it's a really, really ergonomically comfortable knife. I would like to have seen perhaps a little bit of jimping there too as well, and perhaps even maybe a little bit of a thumb ramp. Now there is here, this is almost like a little bit of a false finger choil. It's not very comfortable to put there, plus it's not very big, so there is the danger of cutting yourself that way. So it's a sharpening choil, not a finger choil. I mean, you can use it a little bit, but if you're doing any sort of penetrative prodding, you're going to cut yourself. There's no doubt about it. Now you've got a little bit of jimping here. And like I said, all the jimping here seems to be fairly sharp, but not sharp to the point where it's really going to cut myself, or I've noticed any really terrible hot spots. Now your lanyard here is tip up or tip down. It is not left or right, so you are stuck with a right hand carry only. But 80% of us are right-handed. So my wife's lefty, so if she wanted to carry this knife, she would have to carry it in her purse. Damn it, not in her pocket, unless it was her right hand pocket. But hey, I just think that this is a really, really fantastic heavy-duty knife, especially for the price now. Is there a thickness on here? Handle thickness is 0.56, so it's a little over a half inch, which is just really, really good. Kind of fills the hand. I'm actually really, really quite happy with this knife, and I'm extremely happy for the price of it right now. Absolutely. This knife here is made in China too as well, although I can't find anywhere where it says made in China on the knife. Perhaps if I open it up a little bit more I might see it, but according to a couple of the websites, looking at some of the other Vox, the Jesper Vox designed knives, that they all seem to be built in China too as well, and I guess that's maybe kind of a way to save a little bit of dough. So I mean, that Boker is just such a weird company when it comes to its knives. It's just, I couldn't believe how many different variations of this style of knife is designed by Jesper. I always call him Jesper Vox, but it's Jesper Voxnez. So just so many different styles, right from a $60 version of this all the way up to a $323 version of this type of knife. So they've really got quite a variation, and including something almost for everybody. Different types of steels, different types of handles. But it seems like the fit and finish here was quite nice. I can't say if it was the old owner or what, but I mean, it was a little bit off to the right here as far as leading, and it's even like that just a smidge right now. I could undo all of this stuff, and I did get a really good tip. So now what I normally would do is I would undo these. I would hold this back scale and this scale with my fingers, and I would kind of give it a press, and you can see how it would and then it brings the blade over. Well, I couldn't hold it tight enough because of this back spacer and screw it enough to keep it completely centered. It's still just a smidge to the right. Now, somebody actually told me to take a little bit of like a Matchbox cover, a piece of cardboard or a thick cardstock, and fold it up in there until it is completely centered, and then loosen everything up, center the knife, and then tighten everything up, and then pull your cardstock out. Hey, that's another way to do it too as well. So really enjoyed carrying this knife for the last couple of weeks. Is extremely surprising at how stocky and how good of a slicer this is, and I would definitely pick another one of these up for sure. I mean, I think that it's been a really good carry. Not crazy fidgety, but enough that sometimes if you're doing a little bit of flicking, it does hit your fidget bone. And now I've got it kind of drop shut. You have to be careful because when it drops shut, it will cut you if you don't have your nail there. So it is drop shut. The only thing that's kind of holding it back is the lock bar tension. I think that's probably the only way that you're going to really kind of get a little bit smoother drop shut-itude is to adjust the lock bar tension just a little bit. All right, so scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this probably a 7 out of 10. For me, just based upon the fact that it is just a little bit missing a little bit on kind of some jimping. It's a little bit sharp on some of the edges here too as well. So that's my take on this Boker Vox F.3 Custom. Now, please, you guys out there, please stay safe. We are not out of the woods yet. I want you to keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.